Hey guys, welcome to the channel. Come dive deeper in some dungeons with me in the War Within expansion, and don't forget to subscribe. Hey guys, welcome to what I'm calling Rags to Riches series. Some people call it 0 to 2K or 0 to KSM, or even the Noob to Master Challenge. I actually wanted to call it something else because I don't know if I will stop at 2K or even KSM. I might keep going on, and I'm definitely not a master of any of these classes, so I want the series to be fun and informational. So yes, I will be doing this series in multiple roles, starting off with a role I haven't played since Burning Crusade, which is the healer role. And the character I am choosing for this will be my druid as restoration. So let's take a deeper look at him before we get started. So here's a look at my character, how he stacks up currently. He's pretty geared for not running a single Mythic Plus dungeon this season, standing at an average item level of 619. This is mainly from Dell Vaults and 619 crafted pieces, which I got from all the renown from my main character. So the spec I am running is Restoration Wildstalker. This build is straight off of Wowhead. I'll link it down below in the description. But again, I'm not a super elite player, so there might be a better build, but so far I'm enjoying this spec, except for I might want to try to find out how to get Typhoon because I missed the Typhoon Ursox Vortex combo. So we'll see about that later on. So our first key is a +2 Necrotic Wake. Since I haven't healed in a long time, I wanted to start off easy and slow it down, which is good so I can give you guys some good tips during the dungeon on what mobs we need to watch out for, to pull and not to pull. So the timer is going, let's get into the first pull. So with the first pull, we pull triple double blight bag pulls, pulled with the first set at the bottom of the stairs, which has both the soldiers and the blight bags. Don't do much, they'll jump around randomly and hit players, but mainly just do melee attacks. So stack up on the group and so they can get cleaved down easily. Here you want to watch out for the Corpse Harvester, which does an ability called Drain Fluids. If you don't kick, stun, or interrupt this somehow, the person targeted by it will take damage and be stunned for the whole duration it's being channeled. Also, with this pull, you have Stitch Vanguards, which will do a meat shield cast, which will just put a absorb shield on himself, so make sure you stop this so the pull doesn't last longer. On this pull, we popped Bloodlust and cleared them out real fast. So as you can see at the end of the pull, we started pulling this Gatekeeper in. This Gatekeeper has two abilities. One is a kickable Necrotic Bolt, which will hit the player and put an Absorb shield on them, so you have to heal the Absorb off of them. So make sure you kick this to help your healers out a little bit. But low key, it's not that big of a deal. And the second is the Wrath of Zolrimus. This one is an uninterruptible cast that just does big AoE damage to the whole group. He will spawn blight bags from the portal, so kill them down fast. In Shadowlands, you could completely skip these guys, but at least one is needed now for 100% count at the end of the dungeon. So deal with them quick. So you can see after the Gatekeeper went over to one of the first weapons, which is a spear. This will give you an extra action button, and when used, will throw it at the target you're targeting, but also will do the damage to any target in its path. So when you're targeting mobs for this, try to target one of the back ones so you hit as many mobs as possible. A lot of people just use these for boss kills to make the boss kills a lot faster, but once you get higher and higher, pulling bigger packs and using these will help you be a lot more efficient. Next couple of pulls are all about the same, nothing new, but they will have two Corpse Harvesters, so make sure you get both Drain Fluid casts kicked or stunned or interrupted in some way. One thing I liked the tank did here was cleared the back behind the boss before the boss, which a lot of people do it after because it's on the way there and they pull the boss off to the right. But I feel if this was a higher key, this would give us a lot more room to play with, so I kind of like this way. So for Blightbone, the boss, it's a pretty simple boss. He has three main abilities. First, he has just a tank buster, which is called Crunch. He will hit the tank really hard. Not a huge deal unless your tank is low. Just use a DR or damage reduction on him if you need to, or big swift mend or something like to that effect. But for the most part, it's pretty easily healed through. Then the second ability, Wretch, the boss will fixate a cast on one character. He will point to that character's direction and put a green arrow on top of them. You want to point this away from the group because it'll do a cone effect towards that player, also doing tons of damage and spawning 3 oozes. Another ability the boss has is a giant poison circle around him. He does this every so often. Once it goes off, it'll do a bunch of damage for anyone in the circle and spawn green poison. The oozes also do this when they die. Make sure you're always moving the boss out of any kind of poison and try to use the room as smart as possible. Since we pulled the back of the room trash already, we have a pretty big wide open area and it's a +2. It went down pretty easily. So let's go head up these stairs and see what's going on. So with this next pull, we have a bone carver, which just does some melee damage. Then we have sorcerers, which also have the necrotic bolt, just like the gatekeeper did. Then we have a big mob, the necromancer. This guy is surrounded by a bunch of different minions, mages, crossbowmen, and warriors, which makes you think you want to AoE everything down. But actually, if you focus down the necromancer, he will kill everything when he dies. So make sure you single target down the necromancer, kick his necrotic bolts. He also has an ability called Grim Fate, which puts a circle on a player, which will do pulsing damage within 6 yards of that player. So just make sure you're out of the other player's circle. And then as you can see here, the tank runs off to the side after the pack is dead. He is picking up another weapon. It's called Animosphere. Like the spear, it will give you an extra action button. When used, this will pulse damage around you for a few seconds. Also, while doing damage, it'll interrupt anyone in that AoE around whoever is using it. It will come in handy with the mini boss pull coming up here soon. So with the next pull, we have Bone Mender enemies, which has 2 abilities that we need to worry about. One is Bone Mend. This is just a heal that he'll randomly heal a target around him. And then he'll also have Final Bargain. This will heal the caster to full and also buff their damage while they're taking 4% of their health. So it's kind of kiss curse for them, but they can ramp up damage really hard once they're buffed up. So try to stop these with kicks, interrupts, stuns, any kind of movement, displacements, anything like that would work. Then we also have the Marauder. Has a couple of things to watch out for. Do not stand in front of him. He does a frontal cleave that will probably one-shot any melee that's not wearing plate armor, and even with higher keys, plate armor, you're just going to get melted if you're not a tank. Then he also has Fear that we need to kick. It shows a cast bar and does a giant circle around him. If this is not interrupted, it will fear everyone in the circle. So range, you can outrange this and not be a problem. But normally the tank will focus this enemy, and he's the one that usually should get that kick. And he can get every single one if there's only one of them. Next, we move into the mini-boss that I talked about earlier. This guy has some of the sorcerer abilities, like Grim Fate, which is the circle around players that you need to stand out of. They also have Necrotic Bolt, and he has a new ability, Dark Shroud, which puts an Absorb Shield on him, and Death Burst, which will spawn a bunch of orbs around the room and will one-shot you if you stand near them. So make sure you're not standing in any swirls and any circles, and kick as many necrotic bolts as you can. Because there also is 3 sorcerers in this pull, I would focus on the making sure the mini boss is kicked first, because he does more damage in overall, but also make sure you get all the other kicks as much as you can. So after this mini boss pull, it went pretty easy. I was like, this healing thing is easier. Why are healers always complaining this is so hard? Then we got to this bridge. Started off easy enough. 2 marauders, no problem. Then someone tagged the necromancer minion, which, okay, no big deal. Marauders are close to death. We got this.
Necromancer, Thanatos will be avenged.
Are you so eager to share your...
But you might be saying, what happens if you miss a fear cast? Oh boy, here we go again. Yeah, so it feared us into the other necromancer pack and put me to the test for the healing check. But 0 deaths, I was pretty proud of myself healing here. Yes, I know it's just a +2, but I haven't done this in a long time, so I was pretty happy with myself. So now we go through a next few pulls, different assortment of mobs, just cleave them down, big and small pulls, and now to the mini boss, Marogar looking guy. He has a few abilities, swirls on the ground, you need to dodge them, a big circle that pulls you in, stay out, and he should go down without any trouble. Send someone up the stairs during the pull so you can start the RP for the boss. This will save you a couple seconds because it takes about 10 seconds for the boss to actually spawn once you get up there. Just making sure it's not someone super important because you do get stunned for a second when you start the RP. So the next boss is Amaranth. This boss has a few abilities, nothing crazy. Having soothing-like abilities like Soothe, Shiv, or Tranquil Shot will come in handy here because he does enrage himself every so often, which just buffs his damage overall. He also has a Necrotic Bolt attack which is kickable, so make sure you try to get as many of those as you can. And then he has a gnarly Necrotic Breath, which I apparently forgot about because I just take this one straight to the face. After a bit, he will then cast Land of the Dead, which will spawn adds like the Necromancer minions. There'll be crossbowmen, warriors, and mages. The only difference here is you need to kill or crowd control these, because if they are running free or alive during the final harvest cast, they will explode and do huge damage to you, effectively one-shotting you. But if you can handle that, you will down this boss in no time. Then you hop a ride from one of the Angels of Bastion to the Necropolis, where our tank decided to pull half of the world in one pull. So up here we have a few of the same abilities. On new enemies, like Corpse Collectors, have the Drain Fluid cast that we need to interrupt again. But they also have Gore Splatter, which will put a huge ticking dot on everyone in the party. That we definitely will probably miss here because we have 3 Corpse Collectors in this pool. So we're probably going to get wrecked here. Let's see how it goes. So yes, we have the 3 Corpse Collectors. They're doing a lot of damage to us. Another one of the enemies that are here is called a Flesh Crafter. This enemy will fixate a player with a Throw Cleaver ability. If this cleaver is intercepted by a mob or a tank, it will stop the damage on the character that it targeted. So you want to try to point this through some of the higher health mobs, like the Loyal Creation or the Stitch Worker mobs. These 2 mobs just have a lot of health and do a lot of build-up damage on the tank for melee damage, like Tenderize and other just melee abilities. So sad day, we end up losing a player in the Monk to missed dot kicks and just random physical damage. Needless to say, went pretty well for pulling half the world. Then we finish off the other side of the room, which just has more of the same mobs. After the whole room is cleared, then we start the event just before the boss. This event spawns 2 assistants, 1 stitching and 1 separation. They both open with Throw Cleaver, so try to make sure they hit themselves so you can get a big chunk of damage so this part of the fight can go a little faster. Other than that, the separation assistant will fixate someone and do a huge amount of damage to them, so make sure you're running away from them. Run away, little girl. After this goes down, you will fight the 2 sets of Abomination mini-bosses that do a tenderizing hit on the tank, which will ramp damage each stack. And then the first one will do a random cleave in a random direction, so melee, be careful. And the second one has an ability which will spit poison at you. Just move out of it, heal off the damage. After this 3-part event is over, the boss will toss a construct into the middle of the room. Once you pull this construct, the boss fight begins. This construct will do a meat hook ability. If you look at the stage, you'll see the boss just standing there on a platform. You want to point the hook at him, so when it hits him, it pulls him down so we can start damaging him. Because right now he's invulnerable. Seemed like this group didn't really know what to do because we went through 3 hooks that completely airballed, but then the second construct came up after we killed the first, pulled him down, lusted, and he exploded. Pro tip on the second cast of Meat Hook, you can interrupt the boss's fixate ability that he does in this phase so you can keep them together and cleave them down even faster. With Stitch Fuss down, let's move on to the last boss. So we move up to the last boss, now Thor. This boss abilities are Frozen Binds, which will target a random player and put a giant circle on them. When this is dispelled, any other player in that circle will get rooted to the ground, which is really bad because the next ability, Comment Storm, will most likely kill you because this spawns multiple swirls under the player's feet, and if you get hit by that, if not a one-shot, it will dang near be close to killing you. And if you're rooted still, bye-bye for sure. The other ability, and the major one DPS have to deal with, is Dark Exile. You'll cast this on one random DPS player, which will send them downstairs to a maze strip of land where you have to dodge Frozen-themed abilities and kill a mini-boss at the end to be brought back upstairs. Once you come back, though, you will have a debuff on your character. When this debuff falls off, you will drop a huge ice patch on the ground, so you want to take this to the corner to help save room and dodge swirls. And that is the final boss down. Our first key done as a healer. Didn't feel too bad, didn't feel too pressured. Yes, we had some hairy moments because of some weird pulls and stuff, but I literally didn't train for any healing or anything, so I was learning the spec on the go. Kind of getting a better feel for it, so we'll see how the rest of this week goes. So after the keys we've done, let's see where our character stands now. After all the keys we've done this week. So after 4 keys that I tried, I timed 3 of them, and now my score went up from 0 to 616. Not too bad, seeing that I went pretty slow this week because I was still getting used to this role. But before we leave, let's see what we got in the vault from this week. Looking at my gear, I really hope it's a trinket, but let's see. Big bucks, no whammies. Oh dip, got shoulders. Can go higher than my current ones, but of course it was one of the crafted slots I made for my character. But that transmog, loving it though, so let's take it for at least that. Okay guys, well I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, hit the thumbs up, helps a ton, and please leave comments down below. I really want to improve these videos for the whole series. Let me know what I can do, what I'm doing right, what I'm doing wrong. And if you guys liked it, please subscribe. I'm going to try to do one of these videos, if not one for each role every week. If you made it this far in the video, I thank you very much. Have a nice day. Peace.